So training today with Oliver, we're going to look at the Filipino martial arts, in particular Huba, all right, the sensitivity drill, and how we're going to integrate these other drills together, again, to reinforce the idea of decision-making, adaptability, and problem-solving for Oliver here. So Huba's typically, I feed number one, he's going to block it, he's going to pass and check, and he's going to return back to me. Now, you notice in this particular scenario, I have the blade, all right? Oliver gets nothing today. So he's going to block, pass, and return. Now, typically you could pass above the arm or you could pass underneath the arm. All right, so I want Oliver to focus on passing underneath his own arm. So you're gonna block, pass, check, and return back. So here, I'm just feeding only in angle number one. To make this drill challenging for Oliver, I could decide to feed number two instead. He's gonna block with that hand, and he feeds back his backhand. You can add a little bit of body language. As I stab him, you can turn his right shoulder away from me. Yeah, there we go. Good. This way he makes sure that I don't stab him as much because he wants to make sure he clears that line of attack. Now, if one of us gets bored, we can go back to angle number one. Or angle number two. Back to number one. Back to number two. Good. So that's the Huba drill. All right. Now let's look at the typical defense against number one. We call this return to sender. So I feed number one, Oliver's gonna block, he's gonna pass underneath, he's gonna grab my wrist, he's gonna cut my hand. The reason why he wants to cut my hand, typically we see a lot of people grab both hands on the wrist. This allows me to switch hands. I could just drop the blade. So he wants to make sure that I actually keep the blade. So again, he's gonna block, pass, he's actually gonna grab it, he's gonna cut my hand and return back into me. He would usually step on my foot, so I can't run away. Or he would stab me X amount of times to basically, in effect, make his escape. He's gonna block, pass, grab, cup. This is a really important part, and start returning back into the attacker. Now we could do the same defense against angle number two. Angle number two is a backhand. He could block, grab it, again, cut my hand, and return back into me. Again, this is from a backhand. One more time. I can feed a backhand. He's gonna block, grab. Notice here the hand positioning. He's cupping my wrist. He's grabbing my wrist here and cupping my hand, and he's returning back into me. Typically, usually he's stepping on my foot, right? Now, we're gonna go from angle number five, a direct stab, into angle number two. So maybe I feed number five, he's gonna pass it, whatever, and I feel that energy. He can see it too. He's actually positioning himself properly. I feed it number two, and now he's gonna pick up the same defense against that particular angle. So we go from five to number two. One more time, defend number five or the stab to that backhand. To review, we have these three attacks. We have angle number one. We have angle number two, our backhand. And we have a five to number two. Can we integrate this back into Huba? Yes, we can. So for me, Huba is basically a generator of techniques. It's a sensitivity drill, but I also want to basically integrate these other drills so that Oliver can work on adaptability, decision-making, and problem-solving. So let's go back to Huba. At any time here, because I'm just feeding number one, Oliver can decide to do that particular technique against angle number one. Now, for him to do the technique against number two, I have to feed it to him. So here, if I slow it down, I feed angle number two. He's gonna block, pick it up, and return to sender. One more time. I feed number two, he's gonna block, pick up with his right hand, grab, cup, and return. So at any time, Oliver could do the techniques against number one. And I have to give him the energy for number two. Now, for number five, I can slightly disengage. He's gonna pass it, good. I check it and come back for number two. Sometimes I don't check it, I just feel like the energy's there, and I go back for number two right away. So now we can play. We're taking this boring Huba drill, and he can go anytime he wants, good. I could feed him those particular responses, like number five to number two, and he has to pick it up. So there's a little bit of autonomy here. Again, Oliver can take the initiative and pick up number one. And again, another thing too I'm checking here for Oliver is understanding. Does he know the techniques? Does he understand when and where he would do this kind of stuff? Awesome. So that's typically how we can integrate all these drills into Huba, a generator or a sensitivity drill. If you like this kind of stuff, I also have another video where I show the stuff knife versus knife.